Pregnancy is a time of hope and dreams. For Melissa Lameche, it was the start of a long-awaited new chapter. At 38, Melissa was expecting her first child, a baby girl she'd already named Isabella. She filled her days preparing the nursery, folding tiny clothes and sharing her excitement with family and friends. Melissa, a dedicated EMT, was finally stepping into the role of mother, a dream she'd cherished for years. But while she planned for a future of love and laughter, a shadow was closing in. Someone close to her was making a plan not of hope, but of betrayal. On a cold November night just before Thanksgiving, that shadow would fall. The joy that filled Melissa's world would be stolen in an act of unimaginable cruelty. A story that should have been about new beginnings would become a tragic tale of loss. The fire that would soon rage in her home would not just destroy a house. It would reveal a terrible truth. Melissa's dream was about to turn to ash. Just before midnight on Thanksgiving Eve 2012, a house fire was reported in Coraopolis, Pennsylvania. Firefighters arrived to find flames consuming a small two-story home, neighbors watching in horror. Among the crew was Matthew Platt, a trusted firefighter. Inside, the team found a woman, unresponsive, on the second floor. Paramedics tried to revive her, but it was too late. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim, 38-year-old Melissa Lameche. At first it seemed a tragic accident, a fire claiming a life on the eve of a holiday, but as investigators sifted through the charred remains, doubts grew. Something about the scene didn't add up. The fire was no accident, a terrible feeling settled in. This was something far more sinister. The blaze was just the beginning of a much darker story. The truth was about to surface. Melissa Lameche was a beloved EMT known for her compassion and dedication. She was a hero in her community, a loving daughter, and a loyal sister. At 38, she was finally expecting her first child, Isabella. But behind her happiness was a secret. The baby's father was Matthew Platt, a volunteer firefighter. Their relationship was hidden. Matthew was already living with another woman. He promised Melissa a future together, but kept her and the pregnancy a secret. Melissa confided in her sister Angela, hoping Matthew would do the right thing. She believed in him, trusted him, and saw him as a fellow hero. But the secret cast a shadow over her joy. Melissa was caught between hope for her new family and the stress of a hidden romance. She never imagined the man she loved could be capable of betrayal, but the truth was darker than she could have ever known. The night before Thanksgiving, Melissa spoke with her sister Angela, sharing hopes for the future. It was the last time they'd ever speak. Later that night, Matthew Platt arrived at Melissa's home uninvited. What happened next was pieced together by investigators. Matthew wasn't there to talk about their future. He was there to end it. The confrontation turned violent. In the very room where Melissa dreamed of her daughter, Matthew attacked. The trust she'd placed in him was shattered in an instant. He was not the hero she believed, but a man desperate to erase his secret. On that cold November night, Melissa's life, and her unborn child's, were stolen. The fire that followed was meant to hide his crime. But the truth would not stay buried. The perfect lie was about to unravel. The autopsy revealed Melissa hadn't died in the fire, she'd been strangled. The fire was set to cover up her murder. Investigators quickly focused on Matthew Platt, the secret boyfriend and firefighter who'd responded to the blaze. He denied everything but evidence-mounted phone records, family testimony, and his shifting story. The motive became clear. Matthew saw Melissa and their unborn daughter as threats to his double life. He chose to eliminate them rather than face the truth. Using his knowledge as a firefighter, he set the house ablaze, hoping to destroy the evidence. But the investigation exposed his lies. The man trusted to save lives had become the prime suspect in a brutal murder. Melissa's family's heartbreak turned to determination for justice. The community was left reeling by the betrayal. The fire that was meant to erase the truth only revealed the darkness behind the uniform. Justice was closing in. The evidence against Matthew Platt was overwhelming. He was arrested and charged with 2 counts of homicide, one for Melissa, one for baby Isabella. The trial was agonizing for Melissa's family, but the truth was undeniable. The prosecution laid out the case: phone records, autopsy, arson. Melissa's sister Angela gave heartbreaking testimony about her final conversation with Melissa. The jury found Matthew Platt guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Justice was served, but the loss remains. Melissa is remembered for her compassion, her service, and her dreams for her daughter. The fire meant to hide a crime instead illuminated the truth, and the enduring love of a family that we'll never forget.